welcome back to the BaseLINE podcast, everybody. My name is Beloit Newman, and our special guest for today was one of my broadcasting partners for Bradley University. He now has got his first big break with the Beloit Sky Carp, the high A affiliate for the Miami Marlins. With all that being said, please welcome my special guest, Mr. Larry Larson.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Good to see you, buddy.
Of course.
Now, Larry, to start off, 27 games into the season, 27 games into the start of your professional broadcasting career. How's the season been so far?
Well, baseball-wise, it's been pretty rough. We're one of the worst teams in all of high A, at least to start the season. But it's been a lot of fun. You know, you learn a lot on your first month on the job. A lot of it has just been trying to settle into a routine, stuff like that. But learned a lot, gotten better, I think, in the first few weeks, and that's really what matters.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a big opportunity for sure to just not even graduate in college yet. I mean, at the time of this recording, you know, you'll have graduation in just a few days. How exciting is that, you know, be able to graduate and then just come back and be able to have this as your first job?
It's awesome to have this right out of school. That was kind of my goal, is to just go right from school straight into baseball. So whether that was independent ball or affiliated ball, I didn't want to take a summer off. I just wanted to do baseball. And I told my professors this semester that was kind of the plan. I didn't realize it would be affiliated in high A, which has worked out awesome. So I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll get an independent ball job that starts in May and it'll work out well. The whole online school thing, my professors were down with it. I said, hey, you know, do you guys be all right if I just finish my classes online? They said, sure. We figured out a plan and it's all worked out. So a big shout out to them for making it work for me. And that's the great thing about Bradley, right? You build those relationships with your professors, and they're all super personable. So it's been a big help.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, to get this job, you got to go through a vast competition. Walk me through that whole experience and what it was like.
It was crazy. So there was a job symposium, they called it. A symposium and a dream job competition. So they came out and announced that this was going to happen in 2020, scheduled for January 2021. I signed up right away thinking, okay, I probably won't get this job, but I'll have a chance to meet guys like Joe Davis and Wayne Randazzo, Adam Amin, all really great voices that I enjoy listening to. And then they postponed the event because of COVID, and in a way that really worked out for me because realistically I'm a lot better broadcaster a year later than I was then. So that worked out. I sent in my tape in October for the January competition, thinking, okay, I've probably got a pretty good shot to be at least a finalist. Go to the competition. First 2 days were great. At the end of the first day or second day, they announced the finalists, and they told us each of you are going to call a half inning of the 2016 World Series. And I thought, oh, geez, that's the only baseball series I really know by heart because I'm a diehard Cubs fan, or at least I was a diehard Cubs fan. And I was a little concerned that, okay, I'm going to get an inning that I vividly remember. So I went first up. They told me the night before, you're going to be the first to go tomorrow, so just be ready for that. That was crazy. It was a lot of pressure. So what you did was they took you into the press box. They had the inning pulled up on the monitor, and then they had all the judges, which included Joe Davis, Wayne Randazzo, who does the Mets games, Brett Dolan, used to be the Astros broadcaster, does a lot of work for Arkansas and college football, stuff like that, and a few other judges, a few other broadcasters, and people from the Sky Carp. So usually when you're broadcasting, you don't know who your audience is. Sure, you know people are listening, but this is a completely different ball game, for a lack of a better term, to know that, you know, Joe Davis and Wayne Randazzo are sitting there listening to you and nitpicking everything. That was nuts. So I went first. I thought I did okay. And then I had to sweat it out, and I got to listen to all the other 6 other finalists. So I was thinking, okay, you know, this guy was pretty good. This guy was really good. I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll probably finish kind of top 3. If I'm not in the top 3, I'll be a little disappointed with myself. And then at the very end, Joe Davis announced the names in order of place, and he said, I got the job. So that's one heck of a way to get your first job, to have really your favorite TV baseball broadcaster tell you. That was incredible.
Oh, absolutely. I can't even imagine. For anyone who's ever spent any time with you, you know, they know it's no secret that you love sports.
Oh, yeah.
But originally, what made you fall in love with sports, and when did you really realize that, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to broadcast games for a living?
Oh man, so I'm not sure I really came to that realization right away, but for as long as I can remember, I've loved sports. Started with baseball, and it started with my dad, just watching and listening to baseball with my dad, Pat Hughes and Ron Santo on Cubs radio when I was like 6 years old. That was the first season I really listened to or watched every single game. Len Casper and Bob Brenly on TV as well. So I'd sit there and watch every single game. That was like 2006, and the Cubs were awful. But then I got spoiled a little bit, back-to-back playoff appearances in 07 and 08. That really got me hooked, and then the Bears came later, listening to them on the radio, Jeff Joniak, the radio guy, and then on TV, of course, the national broadcasters and stuff like that. And then college basketball eventually fell in, and so everything kind of fell into place. And then when I was in middle school, I really thought I wanted to be a meteorologist. I was really hooked on weather. I still love weather. I've got a passion for that. But I quickly realized you really got to be good at math and science if you wanted to be a meteorologist. And those are two things that I'm not very good at. Yep. Science, okay, maybe. Math, absolutely not. So I'm like, okay, well, might as well just try to work in sports. I love sports. It doesn't feel like work when I'm around it. And that's what I pursued, and I'm thankful that it worked out. I never really clicked with play-by-play until college. Never really did any in high school, so I'm lucky it worked out.
Yeah, and absolutely. And you mentioned a few people already, but growing up, who were some of your favorite broadcasters to watch?
Definitely Pat Hughes on Cubs radio. Number one, still number one. I mean, he's got the voice of God, if you ask me, and that was the soundtrack to my summer. Every summer in my childhood, still is. I listen to him whenever I can. Joe Davis is a guy that's really came on as of late. Never really heard of him until like my sophomore year of high school, and one of my baseball coaches was talking about this guy who went to Beloit College and is now working for Fox. I'm like, huh. And then he got the Dodgers job, and I stayed up a lot of nights in college, late in high school, to watch the Dodgers just because of him. And he's really good. The way he took over for a legend who's irreplaceable in Vince Scully is really admirable. So that's great. I really enjoy Joe. And then, of course, all the national guys that we've all grown up with. You know, Joe Buck is incredible. To hear him on ESPN is going to be really weird and not Fox. So Joe Buck comes to mind. A lot of different guys. Jeff Joniak for Bears football is awesome. And then Brian Barnhart, the voice of the Illinois Fighting Illini for college basketball and college football, has really been good. The way he broadcasts the game with such emotion and a lot of description, but not too much description on the radio is really good. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, we mentioned this a little bit earlier, but by the time that this episode airs, you will be a Bradley alumni. You and I both shared some great times at Bradley. We already talked about how great the professors have been and how just really connected it feels like we are to our professors at Bradley. How do you think Bradley really helps prepare you for your role today?
Well, I mean, it's complicated because you really can't learn to be a broadcaster in the classroom, and that's something that I realized right away. I was going to have to do a lot of extra stuff outside the classroom, whether that was getting involved with Bradley Athletics or otherwise. And honestly, I came to Bradley under the impression that there were going to be a lot of reps to go around, a lot of different opportunities to broadcast games. But I quickly realized after my freshman year, you really can't get good at this if you're just going to broadcast one soccer game a week, one volleyball game a week, once every 2 weeks. You got to go out there and get the job done. So that's why I started Clutch Sports Media with my buddy Joey Wright to go out and broadcast high school sports. So that provided a ton of extra reps. We got to broadcast football. Bradley doesn't have football. And basically, we were doing a game every night, a basketball game every night by the middle of last year when high school sports came back after COVID. So that was big. But also, Bradley taught me a lot of lessons, outside of broadcasting. You go to college, you learn how to work with people that you like. You learn how to work with people you don't like. You learn how to balance a lot of things. And I think Bradley's a great community. I really got a lot out of it, especially working for the student newspaper. Getting a chance to be the beat reporter for men's basketball was incredible. Working with those players, those coaches, it's not always easy. It feels like a very professional environment, and to have that stimulation while I was still at Bradley was huge because essentially, whether or not you're a broadcaster or a newspaper reporter or whatever, at the end of the day, you're a reporter. You just tell the facts, you report the facts, give the background, try to tell a story. And so that sticks with written as well as verbal. So I thought it was important that I got that written background as well, and that's why I was so heavily invested in the newspaper, and I think that was probably the best experience I had on campus by far.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing I always loved about Bradley is, small school, only 5,000 kids, but you still get that D1 opportunity to really make something out of yourself, whether that be the newspaper, whether that be Braves Vision, which we were both in. There's really a great amount of opportunity that you can go grab for yourself if you really want it.
Exactly, and that's what's great about Bradley is you can get involved in everything. If I went to a place like, I don't know, Syracuse or a bigger school like that, you kind of pick a path, either broadcasting or newspaper, written or broadcasting, play-by-play. And at Bradley, I was able to do both, and I think that really benefited me a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And with that as well, we were both able to witness some really great moments in Bradley's history during our time. But out of these many accomplishments, what do you think were some of your favorites?
Definitely my freshman year, the first MVC title of the back-to-back was awesome. I wasn't reporting on the team then. I was a diehard fan for a whole season, went to every home game, and sat front row at Arch Madness for those 3 wins. So that was awesome, being able to storm the court. I mean, I don't even remember the first half of that game. I was so heavily invested, and then the comeback happened. One of my friends told me apparently, like in the middle of the second half, I stood up on a chair, started yelling at everybody to get back into the game, and it happened. So yeah, that was really a crazy experience. And then being able to be a reporter for the second title was really awesome because then you saw the other side of it. You were able to be behind the scenes, ask the questions, and hopefully take the fans a little bit behind the scenes through those moments. So both of those are really special that I'll remember forever. And then, of course, the women's basketball team also making a title berth was awesome. But that was a little different because we couldn't be there. COVID really threw a monkey wrench into things for that. But it was really awesome to see them get on the big stage and finally come through by virtue of a little bit of luck, for sure, to get into the title game. But also to just come through in the clutch. That was a lot of fun to watch. And the fact that all 3 of those titles happened while we were there is incredibly lucky.
Oh my God, absolutely. I remember being in the stands for that first title win for the guys. I was so heartbroken at the first half because we were getting destroyed, and then that comeback. I don't think I could talk for 2 days after because I was screaming. And then, I had Coach Gorski on a few weeks ago, and just to be able to see what she's done to this women's program during her career here was amazing.
Yeah, she definitely turned the program around. There's a lot to be said for what she's done in terms of recruiting. Bringing the Petrie's in from Michigan, having those 2 in the program were game changers. And obviously, they transferred, but and that made last season kind of tough, but also bringing in Gabby Hawk, who was a program-defining player by every sense of the definition. So her talent evaluation is really the biggest thing for me.
You also mentioned this earlier, but in 2019, you and Joey Wright co-founded Clutch Sports Media. Why did you feel it was so important to be able to cover high school sports?
Well, that's something that everybody really grew up involved in, wanting to be involved with sports. So Joey broadcasted a bunch of sports in high school. I didn't broadcast, I played. I played baseball, I played golf. I wasn't great at either. I was okay, I guess. Good enough to play at the varsity level, which I'm very thankful for. But I knew that's the passion around high school sports is something I wanted to continue being involved with. It's awesome to be at the games, and it's really a special environment because it's something that those kids don't get to experience for the rest of their life. Sure, college is kind of the same in the sense that you go to school with these people, and sometimes you've got classes with these athletes, but it's a lot different. Whereas in high school, your best friends are out there playing. The student sections are packed. Everybody's rooting hard. So we kind of wanted to tap into that passion because that's something that we both had. We had a lot of school spirit in high school, as they say. So we wanted to get back into that, go to games, go to football games, get out there on those Friday nights. It's just a special aura about it that we wanted to stick with and still be involved with when we were at Bradley. And knowing Peoria as a high school basketball hotbed of sorts, Sean Livingston coming out of there in high school, and so many good players. almost every single year there's a team from the Peoria area or Peoria proper in the state title games. So might as well tap into that. People are crazy about basketball in Peoria, and then football, not to mention that. You've got schools like Metamora and Washington that live, eat, and breathe football. So there was definitely an untapped market, and what we found was it filled a void. The Peoria Journal-Star isn't able to cover as many games as they used to. The TV stations can't cover every second of every game. So what we did was we basically capitalized on that with the help of people from the TV stations as well as the Peoria Journal-Star. I think we did a good job of kind of combining old media with new media. With the newspaper, they helped us out a ton, as well as the TV stations. They helped us out with the little stuff behind the scenes, getting rosters, meeting ADs, interviewing, stuff like that. So I think we kind of combined a lot of different things, our passion for broadcasting, our desire to pursue it, our passion for high school sports from when we're in high school, and then of course just the passion that is around that community and high school sports that's really what makes it special.
It can be really hard to start a brand. I mean, I'm sure you've had your difficulties when starting up Clutch Sports Media. I mean, I know I've had my difficulties with this podcast, but how do you think that Clutch Sports Media helped you prepare for the business side of things?
It's crazy. When we started it, Joey said, we want this to be a problem when we graduate, and it turned into a bigger problem than we ever could have imagined when we graduated, mainly because of the business side. We started it just to get broadcasting reps doing completely audio broadcasts, and then when COVID hit, that's when really it was trouble to kind of stay relevant, so we recorded interviews, posted them on YouTube and whatnot, and that's about it. But when sports came back, like full-on spectator sports and basketball and football, we saw an opportunity that fans weren't able to be in the stands, so somebody had to stream the games. So we did a lot of games, and we got a lot of viewers. And of course, then you can get advertisers, and the more people watch, the more advertising money you can get. So that was a big challenge, being a sports communication student, really venturing into the business side of things that I really never thought I would. But I learned a ton, especially when we participated in the Big Idea competition at Bradley, the entrepreneurship competition, which really, really helped. We had to write a business plan. I had never wrote a business plan before. We had to figure out balance sheets. We had to come up with fake budgets, essentially, for 4 years in advance. That's never something I thought I'd have to do, but we worked on that, and now those are skills that we use pretty much on a month-to-month basis in terms of keeping our books and working with sponsors and stuff like that. So the business side of things, the things that we learned there is invaluable. I mean, we already knew a lot about sports, a lot about broadcasting, but business is where we really made some strides in terms of hardcore learning. So
now, for the last 2 summers, you were able to be the broadcast intern for the Rockford Rivets in the Northwoods League, and it was pretty cool because we got to see each other in the summer as I was a video and media production intern for the Kalamazoo Growlers. In your opinion, why is the Northwoods League not only beneficial to young professionals but to college baseball players as well?
It feels like pro ball. That's the bottom line for people behind the scenes. For us, it gives us a chance to broadcast every day like we would in minor league baseball. And I think that's a big part of the reason I was so prepared for this job, not just broadcasting, but also behind the scenes doing media relations stuff, doing game notes and stuff like that. That provides that day in, day out grind that really not only prepares you, but also can help you realize whether or not you want to actually do it. And for me, it kind of furthered that passion. But for college guys, again, it feels like pro ball. It's a grind. You go out there and do that every single day. You either get really, really sick of it, you learn how to manage your body, or you kind of thrive in that environment. It's really a grind to play a 132 game season like these guys in high A are. In the Northwoods League, 72 games a summer. Obviously, guys don't stick around for that long. Usually most guys are like 40 or 45, which is too bad because you get a good player for a little bit and then they leave, which is too bad. But those guys come to the league and they learn a lot about themselves. You make a lot of friends from across the country. And it's a really unique experience, especially with the Rivets. I saw a lot of guys from different backgrounds, different parts of the country, different schools become really close. So that was really the coolest part of it. And summer ball, for a lot of people, You want to win games, but it's not really about winning. It's about development. It's about making sure you stay consistent, making sure you stay healthy, and building those habits, because summer ball is different from college in the sense in college you play these 3 or 4 game series over the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then you got a week off. And then you don't play in August, you don't play in September or October. But in summer ball, you play every single day of the week, and sometimes you've got a day off once every 2 weeks. So that really teaches the grind to these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, going back to your current job with the Sky Carp, in 2021, Beloit decided to rebrand itself. They got rid of their name of 26 years in the Beloit Snappers and changed it to the Sky Carp. Obviously, it's the same team, but how does it feel to really be the first broadcaster in this new era of Beloit baseball?
It's really exciting to be part of a rebrand. It's something that was really necessary. I think they were last in the country in merchandise sales in terms of minor league teams for a while with the Snappers. So if they wanted to keep baseball in Beloit, they needed to do something, and they did something. And being a part of the rebrand is really exciting because there's a lot of new energy in that building. It's a new stadium, which is the biggest thing. Pullman Field was really kind of rough. I went to a few games there growing up because I grew up just 30 minutes south of Beloit. So I went to some games there, and it was not exactly the best place to watch a game, and I'm sure it wasn't the best place to play. So being in a new stadium, it really helps with the energy, really provides something new for the community to go and check out. So there's a lot of excitement in terms of that, but also the front office is completely new. The ownership group is excellent. They also own the Pensacola Blue Wahoos down in Florida, and that's the AA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. So they already know what they're doing, and they've got a very certain and particular way of going about things that's really interesting in terms of fan engagement. We base pretty much everything we do off of fan surveys, fan experience. So being a part of a complete overhaul of operations is really fun. They laid the groundwork last year, and then to hop in for this year, the first full season under a rebrand, is super cool because it's a new vibe, really. And I think that's probably a word that's a little overused, but it feels different. It's a different atmosphere. It's more fun. It's more fan-oriented. And, of course, baseball is still there, but it's a little secondary because, as you know, with the Kalamazoo Growlers, minor league baseball and independent baseball and summer baseball is all about entertainment. You get people to come out for a baseball game, and then they stay for the entertainment. So seeing that is a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really nice to see that, it's not all about just baseball. Obviously, you're there to watch a baseball game, but you're also there to have a good experience and to have fun. And it's really nice to see minor league teams and teams like the Rivets and the Growlers really just try to bring in their fans through good time and fun activities and stuff like that.
That's what it's all about, man. You just gotta have fun. It's baseball.
Exactly. Now, going into game time, walk me through what all goes into your preparation for a game.
Sure. So, typical day for me, after a game ends, I'll write up my stats spreadsheet. I've got a big spreadsheet. I copy and paste a lot of stuff from the box score into there. And then I go to bed, hopefully sometime before like 2 a.m. Wake up, I'll go into the office if it's a home game at 9 a.m. And from about 9 until noon or so, I work on the game notes. So it's like a 12-page packet complete with a lot of stats, a lot of facts on our guys, fun facts. Whole page dedicated to the starting pitcher. So that day's starting pitcher, what he did last year, what he's done so far this season, what he did in college, just biographical information, as well as his previous starts, stats on that, career highs, career lows, things like that. And then little bits and pieces of those information on each hitter, each relief pitcher. So that takes about 2 hours. I've kind of narrowed down the process to make it like an hour and a half or 2 hours. But obviously, you want to be thorough with that because that's what helps out other broadcasters, and they put in that same amount of effort for their game notes packets. And that's what helps me learn about their guys. Hopefully, I've got that done by noon. Sometimes things happen around the office. You got to attend meetings, stuff like that. It kind of spills into 1 o'clock. Eat some lunch, and then do my own personal prep, my own notes on my own guys, and then also the opposing team's guys. So Cedar Rapids, West Michigan, whatever. You read articles, read stats, read box scores, see what they did last series, last game, whatever. And then batting practice rolls around 3:30, 4 o'clock. You go downstairs, just basically shoot the breeze with the guys, try to learn little bits and pieces. Sometimes you learn stuff that you can use on the broadcast. Sometimes you learn stuff that maybe you don't use on the broadcast. Sometimes you don't learn anything. It's just a good time to talk to people. So I try to go to batting practice at least every single day. At home, on the road, a little different. After BP, I'll do a pregame interview, whether that's with the manager or a player, say yesterday's starting pitcher who had a great performance, or a guy in the lineup who has an interesting story. Ask them about recent performances, and really try to get to know them as a person. So I'll do that 5-minute interview, send it to myself, download it, edit it up, and then at home by that time it's like 5 o'clock. Time to eat a little dinner if I've got time. Get the lineups from both teams, put that in a document, get those printed out, distribute them for everybody, and then script out the pregame show, which usually sometimes takes 5 to 10 minutes, other times takes 15-20 minutes, depending on how much time I have. I usually script out like a 4 or 5 sentence open and then just kind of come up with an outline. And then for a 6:35 first pitch, go on the air at 6:20, air the interview for 5 to 7 minutes, run commercials, and then at home we also have a TV broadcast, so you welcome in the TV audience at 6:30, and then first pitch starts at 6:35. So it's busy from the time you get to the office till the end of the day. And at home, you don't really have a lot of time to catch your breath. On the road, you got a little more free time. Show up to the ballpark when the players do, 2 or 3 o'clock. Have all your prep ready, kind of relax, talk with the other broadcaster, kind of walk around, check out the sites. So it's a lot of fun being on the road because it mixes it up. At home, it's more of a grind, but also it's nice to be in your own booth.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot to do in one day for sure. And the Midwest League, plays 140 games a season. It can be really hard to talk about the same team each and every single game. How do you try to come up with fresh ideas to try and make every single broadcast original?
Well, that's kind of where BP comes in, right? I mean, you learn something new about all these guys every time you talk to them, whether it's a story from their college career or something from their high school career or something that happened in the game yesterday. The beauty of baseball is, of course, it's the same game every single day and usually kind of the same lineup, but you've got a new story to tell every single day because whatever happened yesterday is a story, whatever happened last inning is a story, whatever happened earlier in the game is a story. So there's endless opportunities to tell a story, and that's basically what it is, just telling a story. And all these guys are human. Broadcasters are human. The players, the coaches, the managers, they're all human. Every human's got some kind of different story. So you kind of want to make these guys seem a little more human to the audience. Because, watching Major League Baseball, these guys kind of seem more like superheroes than humans. And anytime you kind of have a conversation with them, it's like, whoa, I just talked with that guy. He's kind of normal, just like everybody else. So that's kind of what you want to do, is have the audience relate to players. Because everybody's got a story, whether or not you're a pro baseball player or not. So that's kind of what I try to do.
Yeah, and that definitely helps tie into the next question I have, because this industry is really all about building relationships. And in your opinion, to create a well-rounded broadcast, how important is it to build a solid relationship with, not only a broadcast partner, but as well as the players and the coaches?
It's everything, especially for me when I don't broadcast with a partner. I just broadcast by myself, talk to myself for 3 hours a night, essentially. How you interact with the players, how you interact with the manager is everything. If you don't have relationships with those guys, you look up the stats. You've got the stats. You can read off what they did yesterday. You can read off their batting average, on base percentage. That's boring. Who wants to hear a bunch of numbers? You can read off their batting average or how many home runs they've hit every time they come up to bat, but then it gets predictable. So I try to use stats to tell a story, but also just kind of take people behind the scenes for what these guys do on a daily basis, what their upbringing was like. And the bottom line is these guys won't open up to you if you're not around. That's the biggest thing, is being around. That's what I learned with Bradley basketball. That's what I learned with the Rivets. You go down there and shoot the breeze with these guys. Even if they don't want to talk to you very much, they get to know your face, and then eventually they warm up. And you get to know these guys. So it's not just building relationships with the players and managers as well, but also in terms of getting jobs, networking with other broadcasters, getting to know the people in the press box. And they've got stories too, and you learn different stories from them. And anything that you see at the ballpark can be a story. So stuff with the mascot, I like to describe whatever the hell the mascots are doing every place I go. fan catches a foul ball or doesn't catch a foul ball, that's a story. Something that happened at the ballpark 15 years ago is a story. So you learn things by talking to people, and I like talking to people, so hopefully I learn a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember one of the baseball games that we broadcasted together. I mean, there's some story about having like a lucky shoe or a lucky sock, and I remember telling a story about when I had lucky socks playing, and so I agree that definitely talking to people really helps create a better story, in my opinion.
Yeah, and with baseball players, they're superstitious and they're kind of goofy guys, so they've always got something interesting to say or talk about for sure.
Yeah. You found a lot of success early in your career, but when it's eventually time to hang up the mic and call your career done, what do you want to accomplish?
Oh man, that's big picture. Hopefully, I just want to have a long career that I really enjoy, and hopefully get to the point where I can have a family and be successful to help them out and help myself out. I want to call pro sports. I want to call pro baseball, specifically Major League Baseball. That's the goal. That's the dream. If I get there, whether or not, who knows. Calling pro baseball right now is awesome, but I want to get to the Major League level. Hopefully to call for a major league team, on the radio or TV, and then hopefully at the network level. I'd love to call World Series. I would love to call some kind of championship for somebody or something, whether that's for a network or for a team. So that's the goal. That's every broadcaster's goal. But basically the overarching goal is to just enjoy my career. I want to have a job where it doesn't feel like work. That makes life a whole lot more enjoyable. So whether or not I call a World Series or call Major League Baseball, as long as I'm enjoying it, I think that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, Larry, obviously you're fresh in your career. You might not have all the answers, but to someone who wants to be a broadcaster, what advice would you give them to jump up and take that opportunity?
I would say first, just absorb as much as you can. Read a ton about baseball, whatever sport you want to do. Listen to a ton of sports that you want to do. Listen to how the pros do it, but also just kind of be yourself. It's cheesy advice, but really can't be understated. I think a lot of times when people start broadcasting, and this is something that I've kind of really worked on tackling this year, when you start broadcasting, you kind of take on this broadcastery voice. You want to sound like how a broadcaster sounds. But at the end of the day, the more you start broadcasting, and it'll take you further in your career if you just sound like yourself while you're broadcasting. It's a difficult thing. It's really hard. It's not really something I've thought a lot about until this year, but it's really my foremost focus now is just kind of sounding human, just talking like I would talk in a conversation like this on the air, on the broadcast, and finding ways to emphasize things and changing your tone to tell a story. People will be more likely to listen the more human you sound. Rather than a stiff robot or a copy and paste broadcaster. So being yourself is really, really important, but also just learning every single day. There's something to be learned from everything. Success, failure, other broadcasters, players, coaches, whatnot. So just always be learning and just do your best to be yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Larry, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. But before you go, I actually have a present for you.
Oh, boy. Oh, man.
I've had this for a few years now, but I don't really, use it, and I feel like that you would be more suited to have this gift. So I wanted to give you this before you left.
Oh, man.
Ooh.
Marlins hat.
Your own Marlins hat.
That's big time. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Of course.
I don't have a Marlins hat. I was going to buy one, so this is perfect.
There you go.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I've actually got a Marlins shirt on underneath, too. So
perfect.
It matches perfect. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Larry, thank you so much again, and, good luck for the rest of your career.
Thank you. We'll see you around. Hopefully I'll be back here in West Michigan at some point, so
yeah.
I'll talk to you then.
Absolutely. And that's going to wrap it up for us today, guys. Thank you so much to Larry Larson for coming on and talking about his new job with the Beloit Sky Carp, as well as our time together broadcasting at Bradley University. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate the support of this podcast. And we're going to have some really great special guests coming within the next few weeks, guys, so look forward to that. But with all that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is BaseLINE Newman. You've been watching the BaseLINE podcast. And I'll talk to you guys next time.